important. Welcome to the breakfast hour. It is Wellness Wednesday, and what a beautiful morning it is. The month of June is just running. I will say sprinting. I will say it's like a train that is having no stop, no pause, nothing. Good morning. Welcome to the breakfast hour. Good morning, Mikey G.
Good morning, Lady Elise. I must add my bit of acknowledgement to the runaway train of June. I am, I don't know. The men are running faster this week than before.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of this June month quicker than any other month you seem to want to get rid of.
I know. I don't think so. There are some special persons. I'll just say a special good morning to my friend Kishala. Good morning. I know she is a June baby. Good morning.
Who's that? Who's that?
Kishala is a June baby.
Kashala. Is it Kashala or Kishala? Which one is it? I don't know. Is the pronunciation? I don't know.
May the Lord have mercy on you.
Have mercy on me.
Good morning to our listeners. And of course, as we get started, we must get started with our devotional, Mikey G.
Well, I want to say this morning, I want to say, as you mentioned the name, I want to say good morning to my mentor and my pastor, Pastor Dr. Wilton McDonald. Yeah. Could I just say that? I
Yes.
can say that, yes. Of course, as Lady Elise instructed, she says, Mikey G, it's time for the devotional. So guess what? Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have much more for you.
Good morning. This is day 18. I pray that you may be able to comprehend the love of Christ which passes knowledge. Ephesians chapter 3 verses 18 and 19. An experience in immensity, written by Dennis Dahan. My wife and I were traveling through northern Texas on Interstate 40, and we pulled off at a rest stop. On a metal sign was a description of the area. One sentence caught my eye. It read, "Traveling the high plains of Texas is an experience in immensity." How true! Stretching out as far as the eye could see was a vast open space of land and sky. Getting to know the infinite God can also be described as an experience in immensity. His love for sinners and the salvation he provides truly surpasses all knowledge. Paul expressed this in Ephesians 1 when he wrote of being chosen in Christ before the foundation of the world, of being predestined according to the good pleasure of his will, and of knowing the exceeding greatness of God's power. And in chapter 3, he said that the extent of God's love is so great that it passes knowledge. As we learn more and more about its width and length and depth and height, we can only stand in awe of its vastness. God's love is the ultimate experience in immensity. Our quote this morning reads, "When we repent of our sins and trust Jesus as our Savior, we begin to experience the greatness of His love." End quote.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
We want to thank Susan for that powerful reminder when we think of how great God is. And sometimes just a look at nature, just a look, just reminds us of how powerful and wonderful God is. Lest we forget.
Forget.
I don't
Yes.
know what the situation is for you today. If it's a nice, bright Sunday morning, no issues. Well, of course, you are thankful and grateful, and that's a good place to be. But if that's not exactly your situation, you know where to go. And that was just a powerful reminder for us this morning. Welcome back to the Breakfast Hour. I am Elise sitting alongside Mikey G and taking you out this morning in fine style.
Well, indeed, Lady Elise, I must add my quota, of course. Each morning when I listen to the devotional from Susan, it brings a reminder, or sort of brings you into consciousness of a
Yes,
reality that's sometimes ignored, a reality that is sometimes very much ignored and not usually seen. And so, just listening this morning, I could see that happening. I also want to say that I listened to the study this morning by Mrs. Paulette Wright-All on the Christian pathway. And the journey is not one of trivial pursuit. It is one that requires tenacity
yes,
and stamina and strength. And on that journey, you must be committed, you know? And so that's what I got from this morning's experience. The breakfast hour started at 6:30 in the morning. And for those who are just joining us now on our YouTube or Facebook page or Instagram or even on our X page, we want to say, later on TikTok, we want to say good morning to you. Of course, our radio starts, our web radio continues all day. And of course, we begin the breakfast hour on our web radio each morning at 6:30 in the morning. So guys, come on our web radio at www.flashpointmedia.ky every morning at 6:30, and then you can join us on our YouTube or Facebook or Instagram page or social media platforms, as I might add, to just make it shorter for us not to call all of it in one. And then you'll get the full experience of what the breakfast hour feels like. Because this morning, we have been sharing some lovely music and some affirmations of great spiritual upliftment this morning.
yes,
And
yes.
so, if you missed all of that, don't miss Dr. K coming on in a few minutes to tell us about health and how we should keep our health, our bodies healthy. Lady Elise, I believe
Of
I've done
course,
right.
I will remind you that Dr. K is a board certified physician with many years of experience. Now, she started a series at the beginning of June addressing medical issues, particularly relating to men. And of course, she continues today. She'll be dealing with quite a very heavy and sensitive subject, something that affects men and women, but of course, specifically concentrating on the impact of men and how we can help them. So, today she's going to speak on mental health relating to men. As soon as we come back after this break, we will continue that conversation.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
You ever hear earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, earthquake, I come in Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the doorway or any exit. Stairs might block up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors in an earthquake, bad news. Take for yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, don't want to run outside and ask, "You feel it, you feel it?" Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, whether you're joining us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you are. And of course, not to be forgotten, our web radio, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Of course, welcome back. And guess what? Dr. K is in the house. Welcome, Dr. K.
Good morning, Lady Elise. Good morning, Mikey G. How are you
Good
today?
morning, Dr. K. I'm well. I'm well. I'm well.
That is good.
I'm
That
just
is
waiting
good to
for
find
the
out.
mental health checks and see where it goes,
Right. So for the month of June, we have been looking at men's health. We talked about prostate health. Last week we did heart health, and today we're doing mental health. And next week we're doing questions and answers Q&A.
Okay.
So anybody who has questions about anything that we've discussed or anything that they want to get some information, shed some light on, some advice, clear up some stigmas, whatever it is, something that people tend to have these stigmas attached, or you have some thoughts that you're not sure of. Of course,
Misconceptions
next misconceptions, correct.
or
Next
Mr.
week
Conceptions?
is
I don't know. Miss or Miss.
next week is the week to actually send in your questions, and you can put your comments in there too, and you can put your concerns. And if you need me to speak on any topic, you can also put that in there. We'll try to address it. So today we're going to be talking about mental illness in men and their mental health. So, what are some of the common mental health concerns that men tend to be faced with?
Hmm.
So, we have things like depression, anxiety, there could be post traumatic stress syndrome, there could be substance abuse, or there could be things like bipolar disorder. Those are the common mental health issues that there are in men. And we must say that women are more diagnosed with these issues. But the problem is that women will seek medical attention, correct? Men won't. So it's not that there's a disparity between, or men are more plagued with these mental issues. It's just that they are less likely to speak up and get treatment, and so they're less likely to be diagnosed. And as a result of that, they may go on with long term effects of these issues without getting treatment, and it might just end up being disastrous for them. What we find out is why men don't talk, why men don't address their mental health, and that is because of the stigma attached. Men need to man up, they need to be men, they need to not cry, they need to be who they are. And it makes men are socialized that way, and because they're socialized that way, they will basically always think that that's the way they're supposed to behave. Societal norms dictate to men their way of expressing themselves, their way of seeking help. They don't want to be vulnerable, and that is from day one. When the boys are born, the boys, not that they're not hugged and loved like the girls, but they're socialized a little different. And I'm sure Mikey G can speak to that and say yes, that is true.
Well, Dr. K, I will say to you, as you speak, and I am listening. And this morning I said on the first part of the breakfast hour that, while praying is very powerful, listening for God's answer is always even a more powerful part of the prayer. And so as I listen to you express, the very many flaws that I will use this word as flaws that men may have, the very thing that would make them men would be the thing that would make us, would bring us to our demise. Because, and I always say that on the part of crying and men crying, it's difficult for men to do that. Because one, the woman that is entrusted to him, the woman that is entrusted to him is the one person that he don't want to be seen weak in front of. She must not see him weak, otherwise he will not be that man that is the potent man that she desires. And while a lot of women will say men must cry, she will possibly choose the man who will cry. Sorry, tell the man to cry and choose somebody else who won't cry.
Don't cry.
You know? And so she will look at the man who don't cry and see him as a strong man and go for him, even though she have a man who cries a lot in her presence. She see him as weak. And if she can manipulate him in any way, she don't respect him. And she won't ever give him the respect that he deserves. And so this is where and I will teach men that they must not be seemingly weak in front of their peers, their women especially, because that woman will not respect you if you look like you're a weak man, right? But women go after those weak men that they can manipulate, and so they choose, after choosing that weak man, a strong man who they can't manipulate, and they will actually they will actually operate in that front. So that's something that I understand very well. So I
Yeah,
listen to the
but
conversation, but I would say that there's a place for crying, Dr. K. My crying is, if I can't catch you, I will cry, you know. And there are times when I have a death in the family or some severe things happen that is really daunting to the family. Tears will come. But, I don't want to be seemingly crying because I have some issues going on at work, you know, stuff like that.
so a lot of mental health or men's the way they deal with their mental health and the their expression and their seeking help is basically cultural and is societal. So if you're in a culture that basically will promote mental wellness in men, then they will be more likely to for the signs and symptoms to be seen earlier, and for them to seek medical attention, and for them to seek help earlier. So in our black communities, black men do not do not are less likely to seek medical attention for their mental health issues. So they will have behavioral issues. You'll see them as acting out, and people will not say it's mental health. They'll just say that they're bad, or they will have other terms to address the issues that are happening with men, instead of saying that they need help. So, and then the other thing about black men is that they don't really trust the medical community, and this stem a lot from the fact that they think that um, the medical community is out to get them. And I suppose it's looking historically, because remember when they years ago, when they had actually um, infected a lot of these men with syphilis. So they're thinking that everything that they give to them, give them injections, no, they're not taking it, because they have a little trust issue when it comes on to seeking medical attention. And so it is sad, because the truth is that men tend to have a very significant place in society. And even though women tend to probably attempt suicide, men are 3 times more likely to die. And that's because they use more direct approaches that are more likely to be lethal than women. So it's sad that our men who have problems with their depression, where it's going to be, because the things that men go through, it's a lot. um they go through coping skills from they reach pubescent years, puberty, straight up until they retire. There are different things that happen. They're pushed into a place where they end up in fatherhood. They have to take care of their families. They're the providers. Um, they're sometimes the managers, having work stress, home stress, environmental stress. And a lot of men are unable to cope with all of these stresses. And as a result of that, not wanting to look weak or that they cannot cope, they will end up internalizing everything. And as a result of that, they end up with issues. So, some of the things that they will express is that they will spend a lot of time at work or on sports. And these are called escapist behavior. They will have problems with their physical problems, stomach, digestive problems, pain somewhere, headaches. They will misuse alcohol or even use drugs. Sometimes their behavior is controlling, violent, or abusive, and that's because of their issues. Anger, that's another thing that men tend to get because they're not coping with the issues and the depression and the anxiety that's in their lives. And they might have risky behaviors such as reckless driving. And if you're very attentive, you might see changes in their moods, their mood level, their energy levels. They always seem to be on edge, and they can feel sad and hopeless like everybody else, extremely tired because they're not sleeping well. Could be not sleeping well or sleeping too much, and they're not getting pleasure from their usually activities that they enjoyed, and this can actually lead to suicidal thoughts. Maggie Jesse, you're smiling. Why? Tell me.
The idea of suicidal thoughts and not getting pleasure from their activities just came to, and you lined up also the sports that men will play as a part of mental health. What?
No, not play sports, but spend a lot of time there
Yeah, I
when
know. So
they're
spend a
escaping
well,
from.
no. So it's like escaping. It's like it's aligning itself with escaping. So I might just go to the football field to kick some football. I might never go to play on the soccer team for the national team of the country. But I will do that on a regular basis to kick ball with the kids, with the guys around, because I'm trying to escape my home. Now the question is, what is at home that I'm trying to escape? And that leads back to the person who is there with you, the spouse, and the family unit that you may have. Because usually if a man is living by himself, he's not trying to escape his house. He's by himself, so when he goes home to a place of rest and solitude. He's his own, what you call, domain, or his cave for a man cave for himself. So when you said that a while ago, those are the things that came to my mind as I'm listening, as I said this morning. I'm just taking the notes in, and I'm
And
associating them with what you say, and I'm listening to the conversation. Um, so, and I link it to his home not being conducive to a well, wholesome experience of joy and happiness. And so I'm listening to that. I'm linking it that way. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I'm listening to the overall conversation and I link it like that.
And I'm also listening to the conversation, Mikey G. I'm quietly here, and what I'm doing is actually researching an incident that occurred several years ago in Montego Bay, where mentally ill and homeless persons were rounded up at night and carried in a truck to another parish and dumped.
You,
And the stigma that is attached to mental illness um, affects those persons dealing with the issues, because then they are not sure where to go. And for the men, I think it's even worse, as Dr. K is alluding to, because they are already societal um, expectations of men. And when they have these issues, sometimes they are unsure where to turn. Even though they might be quite popular, there are persons in the public domain, Dr. K. I remember a few years ago, one popular movie star, a comedian, you know, who had mental health challenges. And so when they have to balance the idea of being in charge and then their vulnerability, they're not willing to share.
that's correct. That's correct. And that is so true because um, there is a lot of lack of understanding when it
Hmm.
comes on to mental health, and it's not even it's generally, but more so in men, more
Yes.
so in men. And so as a result of that, men will not accept that something is wrong with them to seek medical attention. So their behavior might be outside, you see them drinking a
Mhm.
lot, smoking a lot.
Mhm.
Sometimes they get involved with drugs. As I
Mhm.
say, sometimes they do behaviors that are a little bit more impulsive. They tend to be a little bit angry, but that's because they might be depressed, or they might have anxiety about things that are happening. How am I going to care for my family? How am I going to provide? How am I going to take care of myself? And I can tell you that I'm not sure. I have sons, and I remember my youngest child, teenager, and he's worried about his future. He's saying, Mom, I don't know if I'll be able to provide for myself when I graduate from university. I don't know if I'll be able to afford a house. And these are anxiety issues
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
this child is worried about. And I'm sure probably if it was a daughter, she probably would not be worried because she's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get a husband who's going to take care of me." That kind of thing. It's a different kind of
Different
expectation because
anxiety, yes.
yeah, because the man is supposed to be providing for
Mhm.
himself plus
Mhm.
his family. And this
Mhm.
puts additional pressure. And if he
Mhm.
doesn't get that support, and as
Mhm.
Mikey G alluded to it, when he goes home, he needs that safe space
Mhm.
where he can get that support because
Right.
he has other things to think about. But if he gets a safe space where he gets the support, somebody who will be tender and kind and make him feel welcome, that person who is going to be his pillar of strength, then he'll be able to do anything. And somebody who will see if there's any issues will say, I noticed this, I noticed that, let's go get some help because I think something is wrong, in a kind way.
So
That
that
is
that makes me want to ask a question though, Dr. K. Considering the stigma that is attached, right? So you have an uncle, a brother, husband, cousin, a male relative that you might have some concern about. Maybe there's some issue of depression, and the first the first contact you make with the individual likely possibly will be met with a shutdown or even denial. uh,
that's correct.
how do you navigate, right, forming that sort of help or that sort of bridge? No, because too often you look in the mirror or you look in retrospect. They said hindsight is 2020, and you said if I had spoken to this individual, if I had reached out, but you probably reached out and you would have gotten a wall. How do you, after you are concerned with the challenges, what is in place? Because they might not necessarily want to go to the doctor one stop, or in your substance that something is wrong. What do you recommend? How can we, as individuals, supporting our brothers, our friends, our uncles, our cousins, how do we support them?
Okay, so yes, that's a very good question, and this is very important, and yeah. So what we need to do is to build open relationships, build open communications, build that social support, that social network. There are times that men will not talk to women, but they will talk to other men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of having that social network where you can. So Mikey G is having a problem, and we are we're girls, and he might not talk to us. But Lady Elise, there might be other men in the group that you can go to talk to. Say, who is it, Mario, and say, Mario, I think something is happening to Mikey G. One on one, you and him can go out together. So he might just be the person, or have a group of men who are supportive to each other, and they might go to, I don't know, go on a drive, go play some sports, go, I don't know where they go for dinner, go wherever you go for a walk. And the thing about it is that it's not a matter, you cannot expect somebody to open up to you when you don't have that relationship with that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to build those social um build those relationships so that man will feel comfortable to talk. He might not talk the first time, the second time, the third
Mm-hmm.
time, but eventually, by trusting the network or the social interactions or the people around him, he might be able to open up and say, I'm going through this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to encourage open communication. You have to make that person feel safe and trusting you. No judgment, just be there as a person to listen. So that's how you form, that's how you help. Because men are not going to open up and tell you that something is wrong with them. And
And
they're
that,
not even going.
and that brings me to a passage in the Bible talk about the dripping pipe and the nagging. I mean, you know, and you mentioned it, the man not necessarily open to a woman, and sometimes we can be quite inquisitive and investigative, wanting to help, but then it's like that
But
pipe
it's
that's
seen,
dripping, dripping.
exactly, it's taken out as nagging. It's seen as another way because you know something is wrong. And every day you come and say, this, you're questioning because you're trying to get answers. And in his mind, you're just a big nag.
Yeah, you know,
You're just a big nag. So he tries to avoid you because he knows that the moment you come to talk to him, he's already stereotyping you. He knows exactly what you're coming to say, even if you're not coming to say that. But the stereotype is already there. But and that is why it's important not to appear to be a nag. It's a matter of having an open
well,
communication. In fact,
well,
you can probably start talking about the problems that you are having.
here is something, Dr. K, that I wanted to say. I'm going to insert this in the conversation because I just spoke a while ago. What I'm listening to is the ability men resent disrespect. That's what I'm hearing.
But there's no disrespect there.
No, I'm saying, but men do resent disrespect. What you said in opening, kind of like link itself to respect the individual, the man, and he prides respect over love, over the word love. He prides the word respect over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I heard in the initial conversation when you started the first line in this statement. It mushrooms a little bit. I watched the entire um, group of women, people plan that complete Women's Day conference on a Father's Day weekend. I don't think the men could feel any worse seeing something like that. And I believe in all my heart that that is the biggest disrespect that could have been shown to a group of men. And I don't think you can feed them after that and tell them that you love them after that and tell them how much you care about them after that. I link that because I heard when you said men, you didn't say it in this way, but men pride respect over all the things that you will do. And the least sign of disrespect comes. And then when we look at it, we would say, one person said to me, you have some jellyback man who also accept these things and then expect us as men who will not accept it to do it with them. And we find this to be true. And so I want to say, Dr. K, the home should be the safest place for the man. And he should have a friend at home who he can talk to. That whenever time he has a problem, he's able to actually say some things that he wouldn't say to anybody else. So he should trust his woman. But when I look at what happened this week, on the weekend, how could you trust people like that?
And I'm glad you're speaking about it, Mikey G, because sometimes we take things for granted, right? But Can I share an experience, Dr. K?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I had a relative who had some issues that were concerned about, to the point that he would have left his job and decide to just go home and be on his farm. This is an accounts executive, right? And we were concerned a little, and the situation kind of got more advanced in terms of the fact that he took himself away from everybody, right? And no, what eventually happened is, apart from his mental health challenges, his physical health started to diminish.
Deteriorate.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He was unable to take care of himself. Now,
Correct.
looking back, because he eventually died.
Mm.
Not from the challenges, but the fact that he was not able to take care of
Of
himself.
himself, from his
And
physical health. Mm-hmm.
right, and soon after, I heard about another individual, a lecturer, a professor, who had challenges that forced him to now take himself away from society. So I guess he would have to deal with shame and all the things that affected his personal life, and pretty soon his physical health diminished. So we are here on the platform talking about mental health and respect, as Mikey G mentioned, and home, and some of these challenges are a result of situations in the home, and the man could be alone, right? For whatever reason, the man is alone at home, but you're a relative and you're concerned. Let's make form that use this conversation as an avenue or a decision for us to make, to be
Conduit.
a brother's keeper. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. And that's a very important thing, Lady Elise. Once you see a man who has now isolated himself, social isolation is a big issue when it comes on to mental health in men. When they're having issues, one of their coping skills is to be by themselves. Women do the same thing too, but less likely. Men tend to isolate. And yes, mental health issues have significant impact on the physical health. And so they're all interconnected. Your mental health is connected with your physical health. It's I mean, when we're talking about health, we're talking about wellness, emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. They're all intertwined and one affects the other. So, in order for you to improve your mental health, your nutrition is important. Your exercise is important. Remember, you're having anxiety, you're having depression. Releasing those happy hormones, those endorphins, make a big difference. Everybody goes through stress, but I'm always going to tell you is the way you deal with stress. It's chronic stress that will hurt you. So you're going through a stressful period that's making you depressed, that's giving you those anxiety issues. You can actually damage your body. You can get so many different illnesses as a result of just not managing whatever it is that's causing you to have those issues. And there are many other mental illnesses, but these are the common ones. Anxiety, depression, these are the ones that cause a man, and depression cause somebody to take their life, cause somebody to isolate to the point of death. Just depression. And depression could be seen, it is sad that somebody might lose $10 and get depressed by it. Somebody might have $1 million and lose $10 and get depressed by it. And somebody who has $10 might just lose $1 and they're fine. But it all depends. They might have you'll be saying, but look at the amount you have left. why you making that affect you so much? And you know that, especially men, I don't know if you were around when they had it was Olint, that
Yes,
situation where the thing went
yes,
down
yes,
and so
yes,
many people got depressed, and there were people who actually took their lives
yes,
because of the loss of their financial stability.
yes.
So it is something that's very, 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 very significant. And there are times when you can't understand why a man would commit suicide, or why a man would things would affect him. And it's different for different people. And the point is that it's not trying to understand why just that little situation is going to affect that person. The thing to do is to be that person who is going to provide that avenue where that person can get assistance.
And
So
so, Dr. Kate, in the chat, a viewer says, men are always loved with conditions. We love unconditionally, and this is a strain. So, men are loved conditionally. That's what they listen. And as you address that, Dr. K, another thing that happens is that especially persons who are Christians, sometimes we brush aside the idea of needing help, right? So we have prayed about a situation and we ought not to have the stress to the point that we are having sleepless nights, or we don't feel like being a part of any group. It's okay because we have prayed about it, but there comes a time when you need that additional support. So speak to that issue as it relates to persons who are of a religious persuasion, and excluding the need for medical intervention to get. And is there a place for additional medicinal therapy for different mental conditions?
that is absolutely, absolutely, Lady Elise. And I can tell you, increased religiosity is one of those signs of mental illness. So you will have that sometimes, and this is not all the times, but sometimes you are having this person and they're now at the point where they're obviously and openly closer to God, very religious, very prayerful. Is like nobody else there is existing except, you see that the fact that it would be more like, say, they're heavenly minded, that they're of no earthly use. So they're basically not existing in this world. It's like they're just all about Christianity, working, preaching, doing what they need to do. Is a different thing. It's like increase, their religion is taking over their life completely, and they're basically isolating everything else, and that can be a point of mental illness.
Well,
But not regarding that, we're thinking that somebody who has problems, they're stressed, they're anxious, they're depressed, and they pray. And they think that prayer is, and I'm not saying prayer is not the answer, because as Christians, we have a God where we can take our problems and leave it to Him. Not just take it to Him and leave it to Him, but He also gives us additional resources that can assist us. So we should not just, we pray, and when we pray, we ask God to guide us to the help that we need, because we're not able to get that help, and we need to believe that He will send the help to give us. It's just the same thing. You don't have any food and you sit down there and pray, God, I need to eat, I need to eat, I need to eat. And what's going to happen? He's probably going to send somebody to give you the food. You're not going to sit
Exactly.
down there and expect that the food is going to drop like manna from heaven. That's not going to happen. But He will send an individual.
Yes.
to bring the food to you. And it's the same thing that's going to happen. So you are having an issue. You pray to God to give you the avenue to get the help. And He will either steer you that way or send somebody to help you to get that help that is needed. And it's
Right.
the
So,
same way, it's every way. So nothing is wrong with praying, because praying is the avenue by which we will get that help, and
I,
we'll get the proper help. And we should pray. And it's important for us to pray. And it's important for us to have that relationship. But we need not to when the help comes, we need not to shun the help. We need to accept the help.
well, I want to say, Dr. K. I want to give a shout out to a few persons, two persons at first. AEZ Way Health. I want to say good morning to you, and and so I want to say good morning to Marcia. I'm thinking that's Marcia, and I want to say good morning to Eileen as well, and I want to say good morning to the man Melbar, Mario actually, who is in the chat as well. But as you spoke about the varying ways in which you can identify mental health in men and their certain demise, you know, and you link it to over religious behavior, you know, I could just align myself right in that premise right there immediately. And so don't drop the ball
The
yet.
captain, let them wear it.
Don't drop the mic yet. Don't drop the mic yet. And so we had a study earlier on in my life when I actually was doing some studies in cognitive domains and how we operate, how we
Yes.
understand who is who and who's
Yes.
what. It's difficult to separate the to identify when you think about when you look at the genius.
Yes.
It is difficult to separate him from a complete idiot. So we're not saying a fool, you know, because a fool is completely different from an idiot. All right, and so the idiot is aligning himself, and the genius aligns perfectly with a fool. You know, and so we will see the word fanaticism as a conceptualized word that is sometimes promoted, propagated, and of course sometimes used as a way of shaming persons who are deep rooted in their Christian experience. And now we are now hearing that mental health can also
Well, Mikey G,
be linked to
you
it.
know what you're.
Let me finish, Lady Elise, please. Let me just finish. And so when we hear that mental health can also be linked to it, then it begs the question, how do we separate? And I'm not asking you, Dr. K, to really speak on this one. I'm just putting it in the mix of things that our theologians and other members of the many organizations of church bodies and groups, different denominations, I don't know who you are and what you do, can
Mhm.
look at this matter in a real, uh, really place some interest on this matter and investigate it a little more, because it opens a kind of worm in my mind that needs and begs the question of looking at it, you know, because we are hearing about persons who are trying now in science to genetically
Get rid of
modify
that God
the
gene.
God genes from people, because this God genes are simply radicalized persons to think and behave in a certain way, and usually it's linked to terrorism, right? And so we are hearing these things coming out, and you know where it starts from? Man's mental health, masculinity within the society, right? So I'm looking at it, you know, and so when I see it, we now have to really make the question to have a deeper look at this. And I'm thanking Dr. K for really, you know, by making those statements, they bring these things to my mind, and my mind is seeing these things because they are linking to so many different avenues of my thoughts right now. So I really thank you for that. Then Elise, you were saying,
But what you have said, Mikey G,
yes,
says to us that we have to be present. So often we say hello, good morning, how are you? But we really don't want to hear the true answer. It's just a cliche term that we say, how are you? So we would have noticed a change in this individual in terms of even religiosity. So it's like night and day. There's a change, and
Absolutely.
it might be a good change in your mind because he was the opposite yesterday. But what's causing this change? And do you have the time? Are you busy with life that you don't have the time to care enough to help
And
the
right.
person? I have a whole
We
lot of questions here on Facebook, so I'm just going to reel them off and then I'm going to stop talking. How do you know when to seek help with mental health? What are the stages of mental health men should be aware of? How do you fix mental ill health at any stage? What signs would indicate mental ill health? What are the first steps in diagnosing the state of mental health? I say good morning to all our listeners, our viewers on Facebook. Good morning, Lady Patsy. She said good morning. Yes.
Good morning,
So
Lady Pastor.
yes,
Good
so
morning to you.
um, Lady Elise, please get those questions for next week because we're out of time now. But we have next week we have our Q&A, so we're going to be talking a little bit and try to answer those questions. What are the signs and symptoms of mental health? How do you know when to seek medical attention? What are the tests that you actually do? So we're going to be talking about that next week, in addition to the other questions that are going to be um, that we're going to be having when it comes on to heart health and prostate health. But when it comes on to mental health, I did discuss and I did go through some of the signs and symptoms that men will have. I would say they lose pleasure in things, they spend more time away from home, probably at the office, at work. They can use alcohol, they get depressed. They get when because of their depression, they might have social isolation. They might end up being angry, might end up getting more when it comes on to their function, when it comes on to um their what you call it, they're not focusing, they're having difficulty focusing, they feeling restless. They might have high risk activities like driving fast, reckless driving. They might have physical issues, headaches, abdominal pain, stomach issues, fatigue, obsessive thinking. So these are some of the things that they will have just because these are some of the signs that the men are having some issues to deal with. So they might have some phobias, social anxiety, worry, and having worrisome behavior, that they're extremely stressed out and they're impossible to control their environment. So they might always seem like they're on edge, they're never calm. Sleep problems, either they're sleeping too little or sleeping too much.
Much.
And right. So these are some of the things. And avoidance. So things that, if it's going to be the work or if it's going to be home that's causing the stress, they're avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So your uncle who gave up his job, whatever it was, and decided to go home, it was kind of an avoidance kind of behavior. So whatever was causing the issue there, being avoiding it, he stays away from it. And as you said, Lady Elise, you say to somebody, "Good morning, how are you?" But you don't want to know the answer. You don't have that open communication, sorry. And you need to form those social relationships, those bonding, whether it's going to be community, whether it's going to be family, whether it's going to be friends. You need to form that relationship with people so there's a safe space when things are happening, whether they're going to be talking about it or you're going to be noticing that something is wrong, so they can seek help for these persons.
Well, Dr. K, as you said that, I wanted to highlight something that in the chat, one of our listeners says that there is a thin line between genius and insanity. And so, when I thought about this concept this morning and how to identify some of our crazy guys around you, this guy is a bad man in the community for many years. Been doing very bad things. He's not a good guy. He's the epitome of the wicked fellow, or some notorious in other ways. Not necessarily hurting anyone, killing anyone or anything, but he's having different. And so the next slide, you see him a Bible in hand, and he's preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? Now, based on what the society is saying, and
He could have been converted.
society is
It could have
saying,
been converted.
society is
Conversion
saying,
is
society is saying,
Jesus.
Dr. K, based on what we are, the discussion we are having, are you okay? So, it begs the question, how do we navigate this murky water of deciding who to be legitimately a healthy mind versus, and this is what I'm talking about Christendom now. I'm not talking about people who are just walking in school, on the road with dirty clothes and madmen, we call them crazy people. We're talking about people who seemingly looking in clean clothes and we are considering them to be mad people, or crazy people in this sense. And how do you differentiate who is and who isn't, And this is just a big topical platform plane of existence that men living, so it's hard. It's even, right now, it even get more difficult for me to process that.
Anyway, we'll see you again next week, and when we'll have a healthy discussion next week. All those questions, we'll try to address them next week.
I do want to say thank you, Dr. K, for joining us this morning. Just add my quote of thanks. I think it was a healthy discussion, It pointed out to me how much we need to pay attention to more than just what sometimes some statistics might say, and adjust our minds along this line of spiritual wholesomeness, and watch, and then try to navigate the murky water through that principle. I'm listening to it, and so it is easy to conceive the wrong idea even after thinking it is correct. So that's what I'm saying. But I want to say thank you, Dr. K, for this morning's experience. I know everybody had a wonderful time listening to this conversation and learned a lot and benefited from it today.
Okay, thank you very much, Mikey G, and I'll see you next week with all those questions.
But of course, Lady Elise, I know you have the last word on this one, so I just leave it right there.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. K. And a reminder to everyone, take note, be present, and try to be that bridge of help to someone today. I hope this conversation was helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. K, and looking forward to seeing you on next Wellness Wednesday.
As I leave the platform, Dr. K, yesterday I was informed that my grandson, maybe a little unrelated, but I just want to say my grandson, he's like about 3 or something about that, 5, I'm not sure, but he's at basic school. And so he got a test. He's doing very well, mind you, I like that. And so he got a test yesterday, and the question was, I am going to give the question, someone is drowning, and you have a bicycle and a boat, which one would you use to save him? And so his answer was, teacher, I can't swim, I can't save him. So that's that's his answer. So I just thought I'd share that this morning because I found that so funny that he would have come up with that. And the teacher, I understand, they laughed the entire day after that one.
I guess he's a cut from the fabric of somebody in his family.
The chick doesn't fall far from the block.
I shall not.
Okay, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Of course, remember, link us on www.flashpointmedia.ky, where our web radio continues to play all day. And on our social media platforms, please like, share, and subscribe. Share the message. Give somebody else an opportunity to see these lovely programs that we produce right here at Flashpoint.
Yeah, and stick and stay for the news.
News comes up next. Thank you, Dr. K. So I want to say news is brought to us by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs right here in the Grand Cayman Islands. And of course, we really do appreciate Dr. K for coming on each morning and doing what she does every single time. You know, so much information, so much to talk about. And to our listeners and our viewers everywhere, we appreciate you as well. Our VIPs, pick up yourself. Of course, we want to add also to the UCCI, Cayman Islands College of University College, who has introduced a new program yesterday to their school curriculum. Culinary arts degree, 2 years. So you don't have to wait 4 or 5 years to get it, and I still don't wonder why we have to go to school for so long to do a very simple thing, right? To just get something to go start making money. So 2 years, cut it down from 4 or so to 2 years. You can get a culinary arts degree in 2 years and go right out there and start making money and start taking care of yourself. So check out the University College of the Cayman Islands, of course, to look at some of those courses. And that's not just culinary arts. You have all different types of courses. Check it out. It's a place, a hub, bursting with educational tools to use for the future. All right, news comes up next, Lady Elise. I see you that you're shaking, and I know that Flashpoint team, I want to thank you for being out there yesterday and doing that one with the college on the college campus. We brought that one week
this morning. Special good morning to her.
I didn't hear that. I think we missed that. Sorry.
A special good morning to Mrs. Tanique Meliphant.
Tanique Meliphant.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, that lady. And while I'm at it, I want to say, and to all my friends in Canada, all right, so I'm gonna go.
All right, news time. Thank you very much, Mikey G.
All right, take care, guys. Otherwise, when we come back, news time comes up next. Brought to you by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs, right here in the Grand King.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4, Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Good morning. I'm calling Karen, and here's your top news on the breakfast hour. Police still awaiting reports on Julian Miles' case. Police investigations into the death of Julian Miles remain ongoing more than 2 months after her body was discovered in a burning car in Lookout Gardens, Bottom Town. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says they are still awaiting reports from overseas forensic specialists brought in to assist in the high-profile case. Miles, who was head of the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority's Anti-Money Laundering Unit, died under suspicious circumstances. The car in which her body was found was deliberately set ablaze, police confirmed last month. Further specialist assessments have been recommended, and the procurement of those services is now under review. Hurricane shutter fraudster gets sentence reduced. Garfield Antonio Robb, the hurricane shutter installer jailed last year for defrauding 9 clients out of over $15,000, has had his prison sentence reduced from 5 years to 3. Court of Appeal handed down the decision after Rob's lawyers successfully argued that the trial judge erred in applying sentencing guidelines for theft involving breach of trust. The offenses spanned from 2014 to 2020 and involved Rob accessing payment by either failing to deliver or installing defective shutters. He is still required to compensate his victims. Armed robbery spree continues in Cayman. There's been yet another armed robbery, this time in West Bay on Sunday afternoon. Police say a masked man wielding a steel pipe held up a store on Stadium Drive just after 3:30 p.m., fled with the cash register, but later abandoned it after being confronted by the public near Scholars Park. He did escape with an undisclosed sum of money and was last seen fleeing in a white Honda Fit. The suspect is described as being of chubby build and light complexion, wearing a long-sleeved shirt with black pants. This incident is the latest in a spate of non-firearm robberies in recent days, including machete attacks in Georgetown and Button Town. Anyone with information is urged to contact police or submit tips anonymously to Cayman Crime Stoppers. U.S. travel restrictions may affect some Caribbean nationals, but not Cayman. A leaked U.S. State Department memo has named 4 Caribbean nations, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and Nevis, as facing possible travel restrictions due to concerns over passport security, visa overstays, and data sharing. However, Cayman is not on the list and is unlikely to be affected. The Cayman Islands does not offer citizenship by investment, making it less of a concern in U.S. immigration policy. The possible changes could impact nationals from those countries working in Cayman, though government data show relatively small numbers from each. Governor Jane Owen completes Flowers Sea Swim. Governor Jane Owen joined hundreds of swimmers in the 33rd Annual Flowers Sea Swim on Saturday, completing her first mile-long open water race in just under 54 minutes. Owen said her slow and steady approach helped her finish strong, adding that the event was not only fun but vital to promoting swim education and safety among children. Olympic hopeful Conor McDonald won the men's race in 18 minutes and 38 seconds, while Dutch Olympic gold medalist Sharon van Ruwendaal was the top woman, finishing in just under 19 minutes. The event supports the Swim Free initiative, which teaches government school children to swim safely. World Sea Turtle Day celebrated with turtle release. In celebration of World Sea Turtle Day, the Cayman Island Turtle Center released 2 green sea turtles into the wild at Governor's Beach on Monday morning. The release is part of the center's ongoing conservation efforts through its Head Start program, which has seen over 36,000 turtles released to date. Assistant Curator Shona McGill says the young turtles are kept at the center until their shells are fully hardened, reducing their risk of predation. Center officials say conservation of turtles also supports healthier reef ecosystems, benefiting tourism and marine life. And in regional news, over $12 million in ganja seized in Jamaica raid. A massive drug bust in Prospect, St. Thomas, Jamaica has led to the seizure of more than 4,000 pounds of compressed ganja valued at over US $12 million. Authorities say a Bahamian national was taken into custody during the early morning raid, which also uncovered boats, fuel drums, and other equipment linked to the illegal drug trade. Jamaican police say the operation is part of their ongoing effort to disrupt the deadly guns for drugs exchange which fuels gang violence across the region. Those were your news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. Please continue to stay tuned for more updates throughout the day.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4, Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine. Your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen. The unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
I want to say welcome back. Of course, what a news. In the news this morning, we looked at a few things that's happening across the world in Grand Cayman and across the world as well. And so we saw, what came out to me this morning was the ganja trade, ganja for guns, drugs for guns trade, and that happened. But this morning, of course, joining me is Janelle. Janelle, good morning.
Good morning.
Of course, you're going to say good morning to the viewers and listeners this morning.
Sure. Good morning. How are you? Hope you're well.
All right. Good. Of course, Janelle, what's on our community notice board today?
Okay, so it's the Echoes of Eternity evangelistic series. Being hosted by the youths. It's 7 p.m. 7:15 p.m. nightly, except Thursdays, and 9:15 a.m. on Saturdays.
All right. So like something that all of us should be attending. Is it just for youths though? Is it just for youths? Anybody can turn up? Somebody who's not a youth, can they go?
Yes, definitely. The information is very informative and it's helpful to our living.
So it's just for young people living. It's for everybody living, right?
Yes.
For the parents and all, adults.
Yes.
Okay,
especially in our current times.
Especially in our current times. Tell us a little bit about our current times, as you might see fit. What are some of the things that you think that is necessary for our living better life? In this time, what do you think affect us even? Some of the things that may affect us. Right? What do you think? As a young person, what do you think?
A lot of things. Distractions.
Yeah.
How our health, our priorities.
Our priorities. Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that is very interesting. Go on, I'm listening. Right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just very informative and helpful.
What are some of the priorities you think that are not so good priorities that people? What about priorities that you would focus on in terms of? Oh, priorities can be destructive, or what do you think?
Sorry, I don't understand.
No, I'm saying priorities. What do we prioritize? Are you saying priorities can be wrong, and for that reason we may go off the beaten path? All right. So I'm thinking when you said priorities a while ago, it means that by not prioritizing God over stuff, by not thinking that you need to serve God more and you need to be more in the world doing worldly things, yeah, then it's better than to come to a meeting like this um, to enhance your abilities to spend more time with the Almighty. So that's my take on priority.
Okay.
All right. So as we leave, I want to say thank you very much for joining. You want to tell the listeners goodbye first?
Okay. Have a good day.
All right. All right, for those who are listening to us at www.flashpointmedia.ky, for those who are listening on our YouTube or Facebook and other social media platform, X and our TikTok page, we want to say a pleasant good morning to you. Of course, continue to enjoy our web radio today. It continues to play. Today's Wednesday. Guys, we get some nice music coming up later on. Remember, 2 to 6 come on later on in the afternoon. And so enjoy the information that you get. So we'll talk a little bit more. Of course, tomorrow, if you listen to our web radio tomorrow, we have what we call Yardy Link Up that comes up every Thursday right here on Flashpoint. Of course, we link up the Caribbean and talk to our friends from across the globe. Why a Yardy would live in Alaska and what are you doing there? Tell me some of the activities that you are doing. And so we must want to see some of those things. So I want to say thank you guys for joining us this morning. Dr. K did a magnificent, magnanimous, awesome job. Of course, thank Corey Karen for the news. Our news anchor. I want to thank Lady Elise for being our host this morning and co-host for many of our programs and our what we call her now. She is indeed the top dog for Flashpoint. She is our executive director of Flashpoint Media as well. So we want to say to all our listeners and viewers, thank you. For our peeps, VIPs, pick up yourself. And of course, remember, Flash Talk comes up tomorrow right here on Flashpoint, and we must get a chance to get into the action of talking up the things right here on Flashpoint. Thank you for joining. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, where we have our guest in studio will be Finsley Smith, and he'll be talking a little bit more about the trip that they're going to be taking to the Holy Land, and of course that nice cruise that you might want to be on. So let's listen to the conversation tomorrow. Join us tomorrow for that one right here at Flashpoint.
This is Flash Talk, the uncut edition. Say it just how you feel it.
No filters, no fluff, just real talk with the full Flashpoint fam. Get with it.
From hot takes to belly laughs, the crew is locked in and ready.
From debates that might get a little spicy, including all VIP members.
This is where vibes meets voice, jokes meets truth, and we talk things.
We are here to get real.
It's raw, it's real, and it's about time.
Big conversations. This is Flash Talks, the uncut edition. Flash Farm. What are the things then now?
Real people, real voices, real conversations.
Flash Talk, the Uncut Edition, at 7 p.m. every Thursday, right here on Flashpoint.
Need help to produce your podcast? Flashpoint Media makes it very easy. We can relieve you of the headache by recording your podcast for you. So, take the first step to getting your content to your desired audience. Contact us here at Flashpoint and your podcast will be live in no time. Our website is www.flashpointmedia.ky or call us at 345-321-6969. That's 345-321-6969.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further, away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries, we'll make our own way. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air, look up to the moon. I'll meet you outside, away from the crowd. Just you and me together, we'll all sing there outside. Just us in the sky. I will go wherever, I'll be yours Are we part of this circus? Is it innate? Feels like a heavy burden, but I can't relate. Do our actions even matter? Or is this a fate? At least now I'm feeling better, I know I'm here to stay. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air, look up to the moon. I'll meet you outside, away from the crowd. Just you and me together, we'll all sing there outside. Just us in the sky. I will go wherever, I'll be yours
We use the internet to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ, transforming lives, renewing hearts, 24/7, 7 days a week. Internet radio in a class by itself. We're flashing the gospel around the world as a witness. And someone will say, you know what? I heard it on Flashpoint Radio, and my life has been changed. Flashpoint